Hello and welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to understand how we can implement Lean in our projects. Yeah, so we have to first understand what all principles we need to adopt so as to bring Lean in our projects. So let us get started with different principles. There are 7 principles in Lean framework. The first principle, it says eliminate waste. Yeah, so in our earlier sessions also we have discussed eliminating waste is the primary motive in Lean methodology or Lean framework. So the first principle, it says eliminate waste or eliminate non-value adding activities, and you have to continuously improve your processes. You have to understand like where is the non value adding activity that is happening and how you can remove that. So we have to come up with a particular process chart in which you will be able to understand the different tasks that you are carrying out, and you have to analyze and understand, are there any tasks or activities which are non value adding, and you have to think of removing that waste. The next principle, it says build quality in. Build quality in is a principle which suggests that you have to implement all the different standards, the different practices that are required for you to build a quality product. If you want to have a defect-free product, then what you need to do? First, you have to teach your team members, or you have to really educate your team members on different coding standards. You have to educate them on different software practices, and you have to bring them all on the same page, and they have to understand like what all are the standards that they need to follow, what all rules they need to follow as part of project team, and what all naming conventions, for example, in coding. So what all things they need to follow, and all the team members, they have to ensure that they are very well aware of the complete code base, so that they will be able to understand like for a particular functionality which is the code that is written, so that they will be able to come up with a quality code base and a quality product. And they also may think of creating some automated test cases the way we do in XP, extreme programming. So that is also one of the practice which you can implement so as to build quality in your product. The third principle, it says create knowledge, amplify learning. So in our earlier session we have discussed like if you are learning from some mistakes or some problems, what you need to do is you have to maintain a common database in your organization, in your team, so that you will not reinvent the wheel, and you will educate your team, and you will create an environment for your team to continuously learn and grow and perform, so that there is no waste in the form of relearning. The next principle, it says defer commitment or decisions. Defer commitment is in the manufacturing process. This idea was mainly applied for architecture. Like you have to defer your architectural decisions as late as possible. So in software development also it applies. You have to defer commitment till last responsible moment. Last responsible moment is the right time for making the decision. For example, if you have to build or if you are creating an e-commerce application, and in that e-commerce application you are not sure like what is the theme that you need to take for the complete application, the look and feel of the application. So in the initial stage, what you can do is you can keep it simple and you can proceed with the rest of the functionality of your e-commerce application. And at a later date, when the customer confirms like how the theme should be, how it should look, what should be the look and feel of the application, when you get more and more information about the theme, then you have to make the final decision that yes, this will be the theme for my e-commerce application. So if you would make a decision on yourself in the initial stage, and if you implement some theme for that application at a later date, it may so happen that the customer or the end user might not be happy with that theme and they might come up with their suggestions. And in that case, you will have to rework. You will have to rework on complete application. That is going to consume your time, your effort, your resources, and so a rework means it is going to add to a lot of constraints of your project. So that is the reason you have to defer commitment, defer your decisions. The next principle is deliver fast. Deliver fast is one of the principle in Agile manifesto also. So the first principle is deliver as early as possible to the customer and deliver value as early as possible in the form of a working software. So here one of the Lean principle, it says deliver fast. That means you have to come up with small product in the initial stage and you have to deliver it to the customer and you seek the feedback, and iteration on iteration you will be able to develop your product, you will be able to evolve your product. The next principle, it says empower and respect people. So instead of micromanaging your team, instead of micromanaging each and every team member, you provide them some autonomy, you provide them some freedom to perform with a free mind so that they will come up with an innovative solution for the problem. If you continuously micromanage your team, there might be a possibility that your team might not be motivated to work and their morale will be down. So you have to empower your team and you have to respect your team. You should not suspect them. Yeah. The next principle, it says optimize the whole. So instead of thinking in small pieces, you also have to have a big picture about the product in your mind. Like, although you might be creating your software product in chunks, in pieces, in multiple iterations, in multiple increments, but you have to have the whole picture in your mind. Like at a later date, how your complete product will look like. Yeah, so but in the initial stage, you might not be having complete idea about how the product will look like because you might be lacking a lot of information and a lot of requirements. So as and when you work on that product development, more and more information will be disclosed and you will be able to understand more and more detail about your product. So that is going to help you optimize the whole. Yeah, so you have to have a big picture in your mind. So these are the 7 principles of Lean, by implementing which you will be able to come up with a quality software and you will be able to deliver value to the customer. And so as to implement these all principles, there are certain set of practices we have to think of. The practices are, as we have already discussed, eliminating waste. You have to have maybe a retrospective kind of meeting at regular intervals in your software development process to understand if you need to improve on any process, any tool, or any resource that you have. Continuous improvement is one of the principle that is practiced in Lean manufacturing. Continuous improvement is derived, or this is the principle that was started by the Japanese team, and it is known as Kaizen. Kaizen is continuous improvement, and the idea here is you have to continuously evolve your product, you have to continuously improve your processes. The next practice can be collaboration and teamwork. So you need to have more and more collaborative environment in your team and with the stakeholders, so that you will be able to come up with more and more quality product, and team will be motivated to work on your product. The next practice is, yeah, again, motivational environment. You should always enable your team instead of challenging their work or something like that. You enable them to experiment and come up with a solution instead of pressurizing them to work on the task or the work that you assign. The next practice is improve built-in quality. uh, we have discussed in one of the principle like build quality in. So this practice, it again talks about building quality in your product instead of building a defective product, and at a later date you will invest more time and resources and money for rework and to refine your product. So in the first place itself, you have to implement right rules and right standards in your team so that people will be able to build a quality product. The next practice can be improve just in time. That means you have to reduce your inventory as far as possible, and you also have to see to it that your resources, the human resources, or it may be any other resources that you are consuming for your project, you have to ensure that no resources idle and you are making efficient utilization of all the resources. And if you are not needing any of the resources, you may think of releasing that resource. So you have to eliminate waste in that form as well. The next practice can be reach target cycle time. Cycle time is basically, we can relate it to the iteration in XP or sprint in Scrum. So you have to understand that how fast you will be able to come up with a increment of your product, or how fast you will be able to deliver value to the customer by presenting him with a small part of the product. The next practice can be improve customer satisfaction every day. So here the practice is every day. Here it means that you have to focus on customer satisfaction. How will your customer get satisfied? He will be satisfied only when you are giving him the right product, or the product with the desired functionality, or the product that meets his expectations and his needs. Yeah, so the next practice is Jidoka, and the last is Pokayoke. Jidoka is one of the practice which is practiced in manufacturing process. Jidoka basically, you will be detecting defects through automation. So you will be implementing some automation system in place which will automatically detect the defects while you work on your development. Here in software development, we may think of automated test cases which you might build in and you might integrate them with your code base. So as and when you build code on that code base, it will run automatically and it will help you to review your code then and there, and if it will help you to quickly understand whether your code is meeting the functionality or not. That is the first level of testing. Pokayoke is mistake proofing. Pokayoke, again, it says you have to avoid mistakes. For example, in an e-commerce application, you have to implement a lot many validations at each and every place. For example, if a person is searching for a product and it has to show to that customer in the e-commerce application that this product, whether it is available in his location or not, so that that person will not book that product or the person will not buy that product. If that validation is not existing in your application, that person might place an order for that product, and at a later date it will be discovered that that product is not available in his location, and you might have to work on refunds and processing and stuff. So as to avoid that all, you have to implement all the validations in advance. So this is one of the examples that I have taken for Pokayoke. Yeah, so these are the different practices which you can think of implementing in your software development process, so as to implement Lean framework and so as to continuously improve your product and your processes and come up with a software which will deliver value to the customer. Yeah, so this is all about the principles and practices. We will learn about Lean benefits and the different thought process that we need to adopt so as to implement Lean. So we will be studying that in our upcoming sessions. Until then, bye.